Adam Grandmason, aka ADAM22, or as he's commonly referred to in some circles as ADAM22, was once one of the most sought after bloggers in the hip hop world, but now he's a slowly degrading reality TV show host who needs controversy to survive. Everywhere he goes, dark twisted allegations always seem to follow him. It looks like the dark side of ADAM22 might just bring about the end of No Jumper if no one does anything. Man, today we have to talk about the dark side of ADAM22 and the allegations against him that have been following him his whole career. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching this. 80% of y'all that be watching these videos and not subscribing, so make sure y'all do that. One of the most troubling allegations that have basically come out against Adam in the recent days was an old blog post from his BMX blog where he talks about sex tourism and is accused of actually posting revenge porn of someone that he was talking with that was underage, man. It's a crazy ass situation, but in order to get into this, we gotta start all the way back from the beginning, man. We gotta talk about Adam John Grandmason, commonly known as ADAM22. Is an American podcaster and YouTuber who's best known for being the creator of pop culture-oriented podcast No Jumper. Grandmason began a BMX rider at a young age and enjoyed hip-hop music, including Gucci Mane with the song Bricks, basically being the backbone for the name that he created and brand that he created. But his dark past kind of really begins with his father. Former US President Bill Clinton was very close friends with Grandmason's father, Philip Grandmason, whose brother was one of Clinton's earliest supporters in 1992. In December 2000, Clinton pardoned Grandmason after formerly being convicted of voter mail fraud in 1996. In 2006, Grandmason started the BMX website The Come Up. Later, he created On Some Shit, a BMX biking team and a BMX-based clothing line, at which point a retail store on Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles. He created his own little blog, and in his blog space, he met a 16-year-old in Canada, which apparently through his blog posts, he had some type of relation with and detailed it in a sick format on his fucking blog. He writes, "This is a story about love. No, this is a story about girls. One in particular, a girl who's a bit of an internet legend in her own right." His blog starts. And I would go deep dive and basically read what the blog says, but I just don't want to go against the YouTube terms of community guidelines, so I'm gonna leave y'all that to go check out. But basically, just to sum it up, it's essentially a blog post that talks about and glorifies doing this type of behavior to minors and stuff like that, and it's been making its rounds around the internet, and a lot of people in the past couple days have basically been posting it and talking about it all throughout the No Jumper sub chambers on Reddit, and it's definitely looking like ADAM22's career might be in jeopardy by these posts. But that's not even the most recent stuff. One of the darkest parts of Adam's history is his Twitter, where he talks about various things and apparently jokes about like developing dating sites for little kids and all types of other strange behavior that has been called out in the past as well. On top of his Twitter, ADAM22 had a number of people connected to the No Jumper brand, which were convicted sex offenders such as Andy Dick and another host, Kiki, which also voiced his opinion on ADAM22, which definitely shows the company he keeps is super strange, man. And it's definitely kind of disturbing. As we keep going, after the whole blog incident, he ends up creating the On Some Shit brand, moves his whole store to Melrose Avenue from being downtown, and that's when shit really starts to hit the fan. It gets super weird when he goes on tour with Lil Pump and Smoke Perp.
All on Xanax because we're smoking cigarettes. Well, I'm smoking cigarettes. 15-hour drive? Yeah, we're off the same.
One of the darkest things about this was the fact that ADAM22 was a 30-year-old man basically going on tour with a 16-year-old. But the weirdest thing about it was their teenage fans. Adam was like all around them, and at one point filmed a video of Lil Pump in a situation with a fan, which is something that should never really be filmed and released on the internet, man. Throughout his time on the tour, which is now infamous, he essentially also was accused and basically filmed himself doing it providing drugs for younger kids and basically creating these weird situations with a weird dynamic.
Like a toaster. Hey.
Yo, Maddox rides me like a roller coaster, bro.
Yo, we gonna molest you. Hey, yo, should you be in school right now or some shit? Like, yo, we gonna molest your ass, bro. Yo, should you be in like fucking art?
Throughout the tour, making money off of all this through the tour and monetizing all of it for the YouTube channel, man. Even after his tour, there was a lot of different weird scenarios within the No Jumper world. Him being cool with Bad Baby, and in some situations like carrying her, holding her in ways that were definitely inappropriate for a 30-year-old man with someone that he didn't even really know. That on top of everything altogether just paints a very dark picture about the No Jumper brand. And I feel like a lot of people at the time didn't really think about it, probably because Lil Pump and Smoke Perp were super big at the time, and it was a time when everyone was kind of on drugs and on Xanax and that type of thing was glorified, so people thought that this was normal. And maybe people didn't really understand the extent that Adam controlled the whole scenario there, but all this is coming out right now, and it's definitely painting a picture for everyone to clearly see. At one point, ADAM22 even had a record deal, as No Jumper was a subsidiary of Atlantic Records, but details of his allegations, a different story of allegations, basically came out in 2018, which canceled his whole deal and left his brand basically in shambles. The Split actually filed allegations of sexual abuse made against a podcast host and No Jumper boss. The major label No Jumper Records actually had the first release of the song Hard by TK and Blockboy JB. But remember, recently, right after that happened, a story by Pitchfork reported that 2 women were accusing Adam Graham Mason of sexual assault. The Daily Beast filed this with a separate woman's claim that he gave her Xanax when she was inebriated, then had sex with her and videotaped it without her consent. Graham Mason denies all of these allegations. He even responded to the news on his Atlantic deal ending on YouTube, claiming that it really wasn't based on the accusations, that it was merely the end of a 1-year contract the label chose not to renew. He did concede that the allegations bothered the label. I won't deny that it made Atlantic kind of uncomfortable and made it sort of complicit for them to continue to work with me. And following this, Adam basically released a video with Lena the Plug and his receding hairline, and essentially came out and tried to deny the allegations while essentially self-snitching at the same time. On top of the dark allegations and weird ass behavior of Adam in the past, the ongoing direction that No Jumper in is definitely something that should be taken into consideration when looking at his past and future. The gang culture obsession, the sex trafficking obsession, the constant contact with young rappers, even though that was mainly in the past. Nowadays it seems like the whole platform is based off of sex addiction, sex trafficking, gang affiliations, and basically glorifying that, and basically promoting death and beefing within the black community. Is definitely something that ADAM22 needs to eventually held accountable for. There's various instances throughout his tenure as a No Jumper creator of him inciting street beefs, like with Draco the Ruler, which we detailed fully in this one episode, and YG, and essentially the sole reason why Draco died when he did. This was definitely because of the fact that ADAM22 felt the need to amplify their gang beef and amplify Draco's message in order for everyone else to see it and then ask their opinions on it and interview the same people afterwards. But that's not the first time, honestly. And another time, he interviewed famous LA vlogger Milk74, who's a known alleged member of a certain set, then interviewed Cripmap, who is basically the main op of that set, with a tattoo that says F his neighborhood on it. And he just had different instances similar to that, interviewing these type of people and then interviewing the people that are against them. And that was his way of trying to gain controversy, and it's pretty unfortunate. You can even look at the little Kelpie situation where he had a host attack another person on his show and filmed it and then monetized that on top of it, man. It seems like No Jumper is moving in the direction that they need for this type of stuff to happen every month. The most recent being House Phone getting allegedly exposed for having sex with a trans person. And it's one thing if that just happens on the side, but it's a whole nother thing for this stuff to happen within the platform and then to monetize all of it. And then when ADAM22 was actually called out on this, he didn't really even say anything about it. He just said he was sorry. And a lot of people have been pointing fingers at Adam, especially at the House Phone situation, part of which because they feel that due to the new revelation, the House Phone was initially with Lena the Plug before Adam was.
Okay, cool.
So we hang out a couple times. And this is like way back in the day, dude. This is like 2016 when we were still downtown.
Okay.
And then but she met House Phone like through me because like even like the first time we hung out, House Phone just happened to be there, right? And so me and her are like having nothing to do with each other after that, like, and then he hangs out with her like a couple months later, and they end up sleeping together, and then.
Adam is seen as having hatred towards House Phone and basically disliking him and finding every way to ruin his career and discredit him because House Phone always will have that over his head.
You've been doing this shit for years, Adam. I don't know what type of weird animosity you got towards me. I don't know what it is.
You really
bro.
think that? You really think I have animosity towards you? I've given you a show on my platform.
And it basically drove House Phone to quit after the huge allegations dropped. And before he quit, though, he said that there's so much stuff that he could air out about Adam that he chose not to.
I have lost genuine friendships, genuine business connections because people didn't fuck with you back then, and you know why.
Which is something that's pretty crazy and notable. But now that he's quitting, it might seem like he might be willing to say this.